Welcome back. You with us here on Opening Fire. The market is down at about 7,800. I mean, around the level where things were when we began trading. No pullback, no deepening of the cut at all. Very steady. Vikas Rathee is Group Chief Financial Officer with Prime Focus. He's joining us on the show right now. Prime Focus is divesting its 30% stake in digital domain Reliance to form virtual reality and advertising joint venture in India. Vikas, thanks for coming on. It's a pleasure. Now, very simply, can you tell us what is happening in this deal, as part of this deal? What are you doing here?
Yeah, good morning, Prashant. It's always good to speak with you. No, we had, as part of the transaction we had done at the merger with Reliance MediaWorks, we had inherited a 30% stake in Digital Domain, which is a visual effects, virtual reality and advertising company based out of the US. What we're doing is we're swapping the stake that we had in an illiquid subsidiary into the public company parent they have. The company is called DD Holdings Limited in Hong Kong. It's the market cap of about $700 million, so we'll get a stake in that as well as part of this transaction. Total size of $55 million. So we'll now hold publicly listed shares, and I think over a period of time we will look to divest these and monetize the shares and use towards. A big part of it goes towards debt repayment, which has been a stated strategy we had. And on the other side, in the business perspective, virtual reality is gaining a lot of prominence, across the globe. There's a huge opportunity, we think, in India and abroad. And
you're saying, sorry, just to interrupt you there. So for those who are not initiated,
Sure.
Could you explain your deal with Reliance? I mean, start from there.
Yeah, so we had a merger with Reliance MediaWorks in India, which was consummated on April 7, 2014 now. So it's been some time in relation to that. And as part of that, we inherited a stake that they had in Digital Domain in the US. So that's fundamentally what we are looking to monetize by converting into publicly listed shares in the Hong Kong company. And over the period of time, over the next few months, we will look to monetize that stake and use that towards, as I said, primarily debt reduction on one side, and then helping fuel the growth of the business as we continue to grow.
The stake is worth $55 million. Is that, when you say the total deal value is $55 million, the total stake in the listed company is worth $55 million. Is that it?
That is correct. That is correct. So it's a strategy of monetizing illiquid assets into more liquid securities, and over a period of time, we will look to monetize that and use towards debt repayment at the Prime Focus level.
And this is, I mean, if you sell today, you could sell it for $55 million, right? Obviously, it's listed. It's a moving number.
It's a moving number. I think the last we checked, I think the shares was slightly more. But again, it obviously will move up and down with the markets. But we're pretty happy with the value. Along with this, there's a stake sale, and also there is a joint venture that we're forming with the listed company. We're forming a JV in India, which will focus specifically on the advertising as well as the virtual reality market. As I think one of your guests was speaking a little earlier, the consumer space, the consumer, in India and other parts is obviously gaining prominence, even in media. So I think people are focused on creating content and making it more personal in nature. Virtual reality is a big part of that, and we think there's a good opportunity working along with Digital Domain in relation to catering to that audience and a personalized media experience that people are now looking for as part of this joint venture on the virtual reality side.
Okay, fair enough. So will you sell the stake immediately? I'm assuming it'll be in the near future.
I think it will be in the near future. I think it's not an immediate thing. Obviously, transaction needs to go through the customary regulatory and shareholder approvals at the listed company level in Hong Kong. It'll take some time before we get our hands on the shares, and obviously then we have to look forward to monetizing that in an organized fashion, so that we can maximize the cash value that we get out of the stake. So I think it'll take a few months. It won't happen immediately, but we will not have any restrictions in relation to the sale of the same.
Hypothetically, if you sold them today after tax, etc., what would be the net receipt for Prime?
Yeah, I think there are no tax consequences to speak of as of now in relation to the monetization of the stake. So we do not anticipate much in the way of leakage from the tax perspective.
Right. Fair enough. Now,
So
the
55
big
million,
deal
if
with
you look at
Reliance
that, it's
happened,
north
as
of
you said,
350 crores.
350 crores. Okay. So, and what would, I mean, once the money comes in, let's assume the money, the 350 crores comes in, how would the profile change? What would change in terms of balance sheet?
See, I think this is as of now held as an investment in the books of Prime Focus Limited. It doesn't really contribute in the way of revenues or EBITDA. So frankly, from our perspective, it's an asset monetization at a pretty good price. So the balance sheet, fundamentally, we will look to save up to 50%, if not more, towards that repayment. And I think we continue on our strategy of monetizing, I would say, non-core or illiquid assets towards making them into cash and using it to debt repayment. Along with this, we also just recently liquidated a real estate asset we had overseas, which has generated about $20 million of cash proceeds, which is primarily almost entirely going towards debt repayment. So I think as a stated strategy we've spoken about in the last several quarters, we continue to not only grow operationally from a revenue and EBITDA perspective, but also look for ways and means to monetize illiquid assets and use the cash that comes through primarily towards debt repayment. And obviously, as the business grows, some of that money is going to be used towards the working capital and the growth part of the company. We have more than double the size of the company over the last 18 months. The business momentum is very, very positive. So I think we're very happy that we're liquidating these I would say, illiquid assets used towards that repayment and also to grow the core part of the business.
Since this deal with Reliance 2 years back, the share price is up about 15%, a little over 15% or so since then. Curious as to what's really happening. What should shareholders expect going forward, business-wise, numbers-wise?
Yeah, I think as we have stated in the past, and I think the business on the top line has continued to grow very, 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 very rapidly. So we more than double the size of on the revenue side. On the EBITDA perspective as well, we've squeezed out synergies when you continue to do that. So EBITDA has grown very, very nicely as well over the last 12, 18 months. I think you should expect to see a continued increase on the revenue side, but a much more dramatic increase on the EBITDA side as the synergies take note. And I think that will go towards creating the operating cash flow we need, not just to de-lever further, but also generating EPS on the positive perspective and then helping grow that. So I think business momentum is strong. These events of using illiquid assets, monetizing them, taking towards debt reduction, I think all these points basically go towards increasing shareholder value on the equity side.
All right, thanks very much. It's a pleasure. Appreciate you joining us, Vikas, and good luck. And hope to hear from you.
Thank you very much. Look forward.
Sale is done there. We'll take a break. Back